Hello, this is Chris on Reality Shadow Band, and today I'm going to be talking about episode yeah, I guess example 2 in my book that I'm writing called about the age of mislabel, scam, and mislabel, scam, and cope. That's not my title. I decided on the title today, so I'm still getting used to it. Mislabel, scam, and cope. Yeah, I've been talking to my friends about this a lot. I was calling the age of scam, age of mislabel, uh, the age of cope. I put them all together like a little story. So you get something, you looked at something. Oh, you think it's a label on. It says one thing, but it's actually mislabeled. So you go, oh, okay, but that's your hook because they got a little in the mislabeling. They have a hook in there. Too good to be true or whatever, and people don't realize that that's a thing that hooks people in. So then you're into the scam, and during the scamming, you get all messed up and bamboozled, and you think you're gonna you think you're gonna die if you don't have this product anymore, or not part of the group, or not part of the thing, whatever it is. And then you cope. Then there's the coping after you've been sucked dry. So one of the things I've noticed is this mislabeling of political movements. So this episode is called "Fake Protest Groups and Government Honeypots," and I'm going to show a episode of Tucker Carlson. And I don't know how you feel about him, but this is from his show today, and it was really interesting because it basically exposed that we still have a COINTELPRO operation. Grok is helping me write this book. I'm going to use a little bit of the AI because it's pretty good, and ChatGPT is, of course, super woke, but Grok seems to know a lot more about some of these inside things that have been scrubbed from the other wokey type AI. So I'm going to let this play for a little while. I'm at 1.5x, but this is just illustrating that things are not what they seem. And these political front groups you've heard of, BLM, and all those ones that were during the riots, those have all been exposed being total scams. And some of them are run by government operations that seem to be run by the FBI or the CIA or some other group that's being fronting as that, or being allowed to front as that, as a way of doing cover for these operations. As we know that from CIA operatives have shows, they say that there's really nobody in charge. So these are all like funded by black opera, for surreptitious means, and have front as government operations, but they're not, because they're all in constant violation of the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, and Fifth Amendment. Because it's just even with the Fifth Amendment, just because you're dealing with your government agents portraying themselves as something they're not, so they're lying, and they're collecting evidence on you without your awareness, and they're not telling you they're from the government. They're just portraying themselves as something else. So here we go.
When you can magnify those efforts by the skill and the numbers of staff from the committees, you get a lot of evidence reviewed professionally and aligned and assembled into essentially a case file.
So this is Congressman Clay Higgins, and he's basically talking about all the evidence that was collected for the January 6th stuff. Now, January 6th stuff, I don't really care one way or another. All I know is the stuff that they were doing there is pure COINTELPRO, completely co-opted, designed as a honeypot to capture people and then use them as a bludgeon to anybody else, as an example to anybody else that might think about contesting any power in the future. Maybe not for that January 6th. Maybe they knew nothing was going to happen then, but this is just one of the things they do, is governments and power structures do when they're in their final throes, when all their good ideas have run out. Now they're just scamming the system. They'll do this kind of stuff. So that's what they've been up to for the last 50 years or so.
And in this case,
maybe longer.
This is a big file because the involvement of certain actors, and you could say deep state actors within the federal government, to set the stage for what happened in J4, 5, and 6, and to entrap thousands of Americans from across the country and to lure them into this set stage on J4, 5, and 6. The people that were involved in that is quite a large web. So yes, sir, we do have a great deal of evidence compiled, and we're gradually, professionally rolling that evidence out.
The thing is, we already have evidence of this already. I have evidence, sir, Congressman. A lot of this stuff right here is just also front cover stories for things to make people think that there's going to be some sort of justice at the end. There's no justice at the end of this. This is the end of empire. End of empire. And anyone that sticks around that wants to fight for it, defend it, this is what they'll be fighting is more of this baloney. So, I'll talk about solutions at the end, but there's not really a lot, but walking away, it really is, that's really the solution.
So you sort of answered the question right there in larger terms. You just said that elements within the federal government, I assume law enforcement, intel, and military, and I'm using your words, lured Americans to Washington into what you called a trap.
Yeah, it's called a honeypot, a honey trap. Well run script of these groups.
Sir.
So that would, that's a shocking, and I assume that's a sober conclusion based on the evidence. That's what you're saying.
That would be my sober assessment as an investigator. And I love my country, and I've always been a staunch defender of the thin blue line, and I would proudly count the FBI amongst that number. They're like brothers to me.
Yeah, the thin blue line, no blue line anymore. It's just the agents that are still there are covering, and I know they have pensions, and they want to retire and all that stuff. I get it, but that pension ain't gonna be worth shit, buddy, because the country's about to go through. It's about to not be a country anymore. Maybe they'll be paid. Maybe they already have deals on the other side of this thing. It wouldn't just surprise me.
So to find that level of conspiratorial corruption at the highest levels of the FBI has been very troubling to me as a man, as a cop. And yet, you follow the evidence wherever it leads. And
yes,
this is what investigators do. So when I asked Christopher Wray that question, for instance, I already knew the answer. I had reviewed compelling evidence that the FBI had assets, human assets, dressed as Trump supporters, inside the Capitol prior to the doors being open and the masses allowed in. So I knew that the FBI was deeply involved. I'd seen evidence, even at that time, with that the FBI had embedded themselves into various groups online across the country of Americans who were essentially voicing their concerns and airing their grievances with each other about COVID oppression.
Okay, so there's a widespread operation, multiple agencies doing their own operations, all working together. How many of it's bots? How much of it's AI? How much of it's puppet accounts? Like, you have to basically assume whoever you're dealing with online is a fucking agent at this point. You have to assume until otherwise noted, until otherwise seen that they're not an agent, or the kinds of things, the kind of suggestions that they give will tell you whether they're an agent or not.
And those Americans were targeted by the FBI, almost universally, Republicans and largely Trump supporters, but the FBI worked undercover to infiltrate those conversations.
And it really is anyone's a threat to this, whoever's in charge currently.
And become a significant part of
or whatever's in charge. If there's any threat at all, they must be doing so much dirty business that they feel that any tiny little peep threat is existential. That's why, so that they've been doing dirty. That's how you know, because they're just overreacting like crazy.
Those individual Americans.
And most people have no idea about it, so they have an inkling, like, because they're like, going to work and they don't have time to deal with all this stuff. They want to video games. Come on, stop. Porn is awesome. Oh yeah, I love it. Come on. So who's paying attention to this stuff? Nobody except you and me. And if you're paying attention, you're gonna have to see, like, either gonna fight for this crap. I guess the federal government with their drone army, and don't say EMP. If anybody says EMP against the drone swarms, I will immediately block you. So just don't say that at all about drone swarms. Yeah, so if you're gonna fight the federal government, you're gonna be to deal with the EMP drone swarms, which don't have any counter. Too many. They have too many. Sorry, they don't have a counter. So they'll fly into the window. So that's why they got rid of the scout snipers. Hold on, let me look at that story up real quick.
Communications and
okay. So sorry, I wanted to do a quick detour into here. Yeah, so the Marine Corps just axed their elite scout sniper platoon. So there's no more sniper platoons, and they don't really say why, but I'm telling you why. Is that the military drones are so effective now that you don't need snipers anymore. You can just send in drones, and that'll be enough. Of course. So, all you guys with the AR-15s thinking you're gonna defend yourself from any of this bullshit that's coming? No. Hello. All right, sorry about that. Technical difficulties.
A significant part of those individual undercover to infiltrate those conversations and become a significant part of those individual Americans' communications. And when you dig into the evidence that we've had revealed through some criminal cases that I've followed and worked with in families of J6 political detainees and Americans that have been persecuted for their involvement in the Capitol that day. And some of that evidence is shockingly reveals that the FBI agents that were operating undercover within the online groups across the country were the first ones to plant the seeds of suggestions of a more radical occupation of the Capitol.
Okay, so that's pure COINTELPRO. That's what they do is they infiltrate these groups. They become leaders of the groups oftentimes, or buddy buddy with the leaders, and they use all the techniques the CIA uses to infiltrate foreign governments and get up to speed with foreign agents. You can go watch the channels, and it's pretty simple stuff. You know, some money, pussy, like some sort of accolade or ideological. So those are the four ways you can capture someone. You just figure out which one it is and you just feed it to them. And that is how they get all these people to basically under mind control. That's what a lot of these techniques were discovered in MK Ultra programs, which supposedly didn't exist, but went active, and this is what we're dealing with right now. Is a lot of these programs, and MK Ultra is one of the major things is the mislabeling something, so you think it's one thing, but it's really another. So, and this is also theatrics. This is the Elizabethan secret magical order shit coming through. Like, if you can change the narrative, because you got actors in the stage whispering to the actors what to do. This is all theatrics. This is all for show, and it's extremely the way they pump. You can see how they pumped up the Jan 6, even though there's nothing there. You can see they are trying to maximize their theatrics now, and honestly being very sloppy and not being very realistic, and not as skilled as their boomer parents were at this. So they're getting sloppy because they don't have the skill set. They don't have the skills. They don't know how to run the levers as well. So it's becoming very easily to see because they're just doing the same trick over and over and over again, because they figure it's worked in the past, and it does work on most people, but not everyone. And you're the one of the people it's probably not going to work on. So you have decision points quick, having coming down the pike, that if you see this stuff, then you know what's happening.
And they were sort of testing the waters of who amongst that group would begin acknowledging that, yeah, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should plan for an occupation like that. But if you look at the origins of those conversations, they were started by the FBI undercover guy.
Yeah, that's standard procedure, sir. That you should, if as a congressman at a cop, you should actually know about COINTELPRO and the strategies that they were used. Um, I gonna have to assume that he does know about it, doesn't want to talk about it, so he's just like explaining it to you like you don't know, or I assumes you don't know, and most people don't know.
Was operating inside the group. And then months later, so those
let's go back to that a little bit.
They were sort of testing the waters of who amongst that group would begin acknowledging that, yeah, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should
That's CIA tactics.
Plan for an occupation like that. But if you look at the origins of those conversations, they were started by the FBI undercover guy that was operating inside the group. And then months later, on January 4th, 5th, and 6th, many of those Americans met for the first time in person when they gathered for the massive rally where American patriots assembled to object to everything that had happened.
So they did this all through electronic devices. These devices are mind control devices. If you are a sucker, if you're a blue-pilled sucker and you think the United States still exists and presidents have control of things, you just kind of deserve it. That is another one of those things that these guys have this religion that if they can fool you and put one over on your eyes, they're doing you a favor. And in a way, kinda, and for your soul, yeah, because you just need to stop doing this shit. Stop being a fucking blue pill simp and stop realizing, stop trying to give your power over to these people who fucking hate you. They fucking hate you. Do you understand?
During 2020, the COVID oppression, and the stunning results of what we believe was a compromised election cycle in November 2020. So Americans gathered at their own capital.
Yeah, the whole thing's been compromised, sir, for your whole lifetime. But you just woke up to it now? Oh, okay. This is that blue-pilled simp shit that's fucking will destroy the world, destroy the society. Any society that's in it is going to get destroyed by these blue-pilled simps who just, these indoctrinated cult members who have been so run through by the MK Ultra cycles, and they really have no idea really what's happening, and are guided by these COINTELPRO groups. Like, anybody that gives a shit, they say, I gotta go online and find the group and do the thing and all this stuff. It's like that stuff's all set up for you, ding dong.
Appropriately air grievances and protests at their capital, but embedded amongst their number was an FBI asset that had been working.
See, the people who really know what's going on do never ever get involved with any of this stuff, and actually are leaving, planning on leaving, escaping, putting things in the woods, getting their talking to their neighbors, training. They are the people are staying that are know where it's going on with this thing, and there's what they're doing. And there's other people like me who are like, I don't have that. I don't got it, Betty. I never did have it. Yeah, I got totally wiped out by a couple divorces. Yeah, I got totally run through with the feminism stuff. So I got the writing on the wall during COVID, and I was like, okay, time to skedaddle. I was like, can we hit a border? It's like, yeah, Mexico's still open, and they're cool with everything. They don't give a shit about any of this stuff. I mean, they have it all. They're doing the mind control operations, but the people here are already like, yeah, whatever. Now the upper class who are all involved, like, oh, we gotta do it, dude. And that just shows you that they're gonna be falling out of power here, or just maintaining it with brutality, like the tech tent cities, which I talk about. Anyway, we'll keep going.
From within their group online for many months. So this was the level of manipulative effort that the FBI invested into American citizenry and our assembly online to exercise our rights under the First Amendment, to talk to each other about whatever we want to talk about, including the insidious oppressions of COVID that we were suffering across the country. So, and our concerns about where the election was going, the whole mail-in ballot thing, we could see the stage was being set for a compromised election cycle, possibly.
Just this one, sir. The whole thing's been compromised since the Federal Reserve got taken over. Since that was not opposed, it's been all compromised, you retards. You are a little bit retarded when you don't see how it's all been compromised. No? Okay.
To our horror, that's what happened. So FBI had fingerprints on this thing.
Blue-pilled boomer simps need to fucking wake the fuck up. This country's gotten taken out by your I believe in America. That shit's been over for a long ass time, since at least 9/11. Come on.
For many months prior to J4, 5, and 6.
I want to go back to something you said in the first sentence, which is you have seen evidence.
I'm proud of Tucker because we're almost the same exact age. He's finally waking up to some of this stuff, even be it's like right in his fucking face. That he's finally going and seeing, okay, maybe there's something wrong. Yeah, but he's so surface level because he can't get past his own mind control. Like the country ended in 1865, maybe before that, maybe 1812. I mean, they burnt down the White House, man. The British go back over basically at that time, and by 1865, it was you can't leave the Union. It's a voluntary ad, but an involuntary you can't leave. That sounds kind of abusive, if you don't ask me. And we're still living under that. We have no idea why things are so fucked.
And that spurred your questions to Chris Wray, that there were FBI assets dressed as Trump supporters within the Capitol. So that is proof of entrapment, because of course the federal government could have prevented entry into the Capitol building. Aren't that many doors? You work there, But they allowed people in on purpose to entrap them. That's what that proves, I think. Does it not?
Well, it's certainly condemning. It's another piece of the strategy that the government employed to sort of complete the entrapment of Americans that they had infiltrated and then prodded and provoked online with those original seeds planted of actions like what type of gear to wear and just in language that incited behavior that could go the wrong way. Pushing actions of legal and legitimate peaceful protest.
Oh, so you're saying they're using psychological techniques? They're using psychological operation techniques through electronic media, through electronic means that they've already had AI scan through and know what gets the best response given the psychological profile of this particular person. They say, but response number 6, response number 4, don't you think this is all automated? This is all industrial level mind control operations. So MK Ultra, okay, it was never meant for just one person. They experimented on one person at a time. Yeah, you better believe it. But don't you think for a second it was just for one person? They could, if they want to, they can make a fucking. They already know they can force somebody to do whatever they want, an individual. This is for the group, the mass mind control. That's what MK Ultra is. Mass mind control. This stuff. They're using the electronic devices to control your mind and do this stuff. And they're going to do it again. And they're going to keep doing it until people don't. Either the thing falls over or people stop paying attention to it. And that's what the book is about. The age of mislabel, scam, and cope. Let's keep going.
to an edge where those Americans would likely not have gone had they not been encouraged by the FBI plant amongst their number that they didn't know was there. So by the time it was actually J6 and you had massive.
How is that legal? How is it legal? How is it legal for someone to go instigate violence and not be charged? That definitely is that is an exception to the First Amendment. That is violatable. That is punishable by law. Why are these people still walking around? They're walking with impunity because you know what? They don't give a fuck. That shit don't exist. First Amendment, Second Amendment, that shit don't exist. Stop. 1934 National Firearms Act. No. 1968 Gun Control Act. No, we don't have those laws. How do they exist if we have a Second Amendment? There's shall not be infringed. None of it. None of it, ding dongs. But America, vote.
Of Americans assembled outside the Capitol, almost like 99.9%, 100% peaceful. On the inside,
yeah, until the police started firing flashbang grenades into the crowd. Did you know that they did that? You can look that up online. You can find that footage, maybe. They haven't buried it yet.
You had FBI assets dressed as Trump supporters.
Just remember, I don't give a shit about this. This Trump, Biden, bribing. Who gives? They're all corrupt as hell. The only thing I like about Trump is he's like bringing up this freaking shadow government thing. He's like, I'm not in charge of this shit. Hello, they put me up here, but I don't know. I can't push any button. There's nothing I can do here. I have influence, but it's only shit they're gonna do anyway. He's the only one talking about it. But other than that, fuck all these people. You need to quit paying attention to these fucks and thinking that they're on your side or you're gonna be part of a patriot group. You're on a Facebook group. You're gonna go to protest the election, get Trump in there. Is that what you're gonna do? Really? You morons.
Their way around the Capitol.
Before the doors even open.
Before the doors open. Or else how are you going to get around the Capitol? You've been there many times. You need a guide to get from whatever door you go in.
It's a labyrinth.
It's a maze inside there. So
they were guiding guys around, going from office to office. This was not insurrection. They didn't bring any firearms.
that's right. So there's no way, just Americans, most of which have never been to the Capitol, there's no way they can come in some random door that gets opened and then get their way directly to the statuary or the House chamber or the Senate chamber. It's just not possible. So the FBI assets that were dressed as Trump supporters that were inside the Capitol were there, I believe, and evidence indicates that they were there to specifically wave in the Trump supporters that had gathered outside the Capitol, and the doors opened and they were allowed in. And on the inside were there's some more Trump supporters, but really those were FBI assets, law enforcement assets that knew their way around the Capitol. And they waved those guys in, said, come on, follow us. And they're the ones that led them on the path directly. How do you think a guy's never been to the Capitol, gonna come into the Capitol, all amped up on emotion, and make his way straight to Nancy Pelosi's office?
Yeah, the emotion, the mind control shit that the Team A just pumped into this whole crowd. Got them all gassed up on patriotism.
It's like I couldn't get it. There's no way. I've been there for 7 years. You'd come in some random door at the Capitol and make my way to Nancy Pelosi's.
Everything is unmarked. I mean, those leadership offices are unmarked. So how
it's confusing to get around in the Capitol. Every American that has been there knows this. When you go on a tour, you bring your family to D.C., you go through the Capitol, you have to have a guide. And on January 6th, the guides were FBI assets, the law enforcement.
All right, someone lets you listen to the rest of that. I just want to give you the example here that things in the political sphere are grossly mislabeled from top to bottom. Who's involved, who's funding it, what they're doing with it, how it's up. The whole thing. It's super corrupt at this point. That's about it for the video, and yeah, I appreciate you for watching Reality Shadow Man and more to come on this series.
Recording ended.